Okay, so he asked, hey, I tried to get on SIRS last night at home, didn't work, and that is because I forgot to tell you something. So,
okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So when you're on campus, when you're in the building, there is no username and password necessary. All the computers, or if you're on your phone or you have your own computer, they're all wired to bypass that. But when you're at home, SIRS doesn't know who you are, and so they're saying like, well, who are you? What's your username and password? I'm about to tell you. So your username and password for access to SIRS anywhere. And by the way, this includes after you graduate. SIRS is yours forever. I, as an example, just got a thank you email from a student who right now is going to Green Bay, University of Wisconsin, Green Bay. She said she had a paper final. It was on abortion. She had no idea what to do. She remembered, hey, wait a minute, SIRS. She jammed it out all the night before the final, turned in and got an A. Good student, good writer, but again, SIRS is really, what makes SIRS so good is that it's so organized so well, right? Here are the 3 articles that argue yes for the question. Here are the 3 articles that argue no for the question. There you go. What else do you need? Oh, anyway, okay, username. Username is SHSLMC SHSLMC is your username.
Okay. Does capitals matter?
No capitals. SHSLMC. Somerset High School Library Media Center. SHSLMC is your username. Password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Break that, Russia. Everyone get that? The username password? You got a password? Start at 1 and go to 6. Oh.
We forgot what it was a topic today.
Okay. Any questions on that? That gives you access to SIRS anywhere and everywhere. I just told these guys if you wanted to get access to SIRS but you're not on campus, it's going to ask you for a username and password. Your username is SHSLMC. SHSLMC. Password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That gives you access to SIRS if you're at home. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. So now I'm going to ask you to do something that's going to be difficult for some of you. Put your phones away. When I say away, what that means is away. Very away. Really away. Okay? Not under the desk so that you think I can't see it, but it looks like you're staring at your crotch. Sorry. You'll have your chance to play on your phones later. My God, you have more flex time. Isn't this amazing? And I mean this, right? How many of you have a busier schedule now than you did first semester? Like it's more full. But isn't that amazing? Because prior to this year, your entire day was full. And that was normal. And now you're thinking, I don't have as much flex time. You didn't have any flex time before. None. And now you have less and you're complaining. And believe me, I get it. Me too. Right? I'm busier now. And it's like, And then I think, but wait, I was way busier before. Anyway, okay. Here we go. We're going to cover a few slides here, and then we're going to attack Pledge of Allegiance and think about that a bit, and then we'll start looking at an actual case, the actual Supreme Court case. We'll think about that. Okay. You're looking at a tree, and there's family on it. What are we looking at? A family tree. Now, I don't anymore, but I used to have sociology students make their own little family tree like it's a wrestling bracket. So, right? So you had mom and dad and grandparents and great-grandparents. Go back, and investigate, where'd you come from and where were your ancestors from. It looks to me like I'm just doing an eyeball figure here. Yep, most of us in this room are white. So most of our ancestors came from Europe. Do any of you happen to know, did any of your parents do the Ancestry.com crap? You do? Okay, great. My dad also did that, and I found out, it's kind of interesting, I don't know. that my ancestors were on the Mayflower. So apparently I'm part Pilgrim. Let's see, have I told any of you this story before? Nope, nobody here. My great uncle was the guy that shot the guy who shot Lincoln. So go ahead.
Actually,
Go ahead, touch greatness. Never wash that finger. Yeah. My great uncle was the guy that shot John Wilkes Booth, the guy that shot Lincoln. So, I'm a very important person. Anyway, okay.
Coolest nephew.
Do you know where your ancestors are from?
Austria.
Austria. Okay, you're Austrian. Anybody else?
Germany.
Germany, you're German? Yep. Germany? Yep.
Iceland.
Iceland? Cool. That's awesome. You know Iceland? Which if you don't know is this island right there. Iceland has the second most geothermic geysers on Earth.
Where's those?
Very good. That's always the question people ask. Like, well, where's the most? Yellowstone National Park.
Oh, I've been there. Yeah, that makes
Oh,
sense.
great.
That makes
Yellowstone.
sense.
You've never been there.
It's really awesome, but the path like to the geysers when I was there, like all the wooden walkways were like half destroyed, and you couldn't.
Yeah, they fixed it up.
Okay.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the north entrance. There's a river that's ice cold and another river that's boiling hot. But they meet. So you just put rocks and make the water swirl. Hot tub. It's fun. Okay. We're going to learn some terms here. Yes, you are responsible for these terms. But remember, if you're not taking notes, I don't care. If you don't take notes, I'm not your mom. If you want to take notes, great. I happen to believe, I do believe this, that you learn better by writing this stuff yourself. I have a professor who believes this, that you have a little brain in your thumb. And that's the brain you need. It needs to be learned here first, then it's learned here. So the way you do that is by writing. But again, if you don't want to write, I don't care. All of this is available on the website. So if you don't take one single note, it's still available to you. 3 terms that you need to understand. What is called bilateral? Bilateral is where you trace your father's ancestry and your mother's ancestry equally. So this is a kind of a, maybe not the fairest way to measure it, but let's just see. How many of you have moms who gave up her name when she married dad? Most of us. Okay. How many of you have a hyphenated name? Hyphenated? Okay. Any of you have mom that says, screw you, I'm keeping my own name? Miss Evenson, right? That's not her married name. Mr. Evenson is not Mr. Evenson. It's Mr. What is it? It's Mr. I don't even remember. Great guy, really super nice guy, but she kept her own name. Okay, that would be bilateral, measuring both equally. You value both sides equally. American culture is shifting, so we have hyphenated names and moms that keep their own name. Or how about this? And again, you don't need to raise your hand if you don't want to, but parents are divorced and mom went back to her maiden name after the divorce. Okay, yep. Patrilineal is when you trace through dad. Patra, meaning dad. Patrilineal. Dad's side of the family. So most American families still are traditional. Woman gives up her name when marrying dad or husband, right? She becomes part of the dad side of the family. That's an example of patrilineal. Most American families are still patrilineal. And then there's matrilineal, where you go through mom's side of the family. How about this? This is starting to happen. Husband gives up name, takes wife's name. Anyone in here like that? It's not very common yet. So bilineal, patrilineal, matrilineal. Most Americans are still patrilineal. There are some matrilineal cultures. The Native Americans that lived where the Grand Canyon is today were matrilineal, right? When husband and wife got married, dad moved in with mom's family. Not very common, but they're cultures. Okay, ready? My goal is 3 slides. Okay, the next thing we're gonna look at is something called authority pattern. And again, what I'm gonna do is invite you to think about your own family. How does this occur? And let me ask it this way, and you just think about it, and then if you wanna share, that's great, I'll share. When punishment is rendered in your family, who does it? Is that a dad thing? Is that a mom thing? Is it a tag team effort? Do they take turns? What is it for you? Okay. For me, it was both. Lucky me. Good thing I was an angel. Mom and dad both meted out punishment equally. How about you? Right? Who does the disciplining in your house? Now, if you're a single parent family, there's actually 2 answers. The parent you're living with, or what discipline, right? That it just doesn't happen. You're more like friends than a mother-daughter or mother-son sort of thing. Okay. Who does the punishment in your family? So let me introduce to you, if dad does it, you live in a patriarchy. Males dominate the decisions. And American culture historically has been a patriarchal society. Dad makes the decisions. Mom vacuums while wearing a beautiful dress and then somehow makes dinner. And dad gets home and says, I'm hungry. And mom feeds dad, and then dad sits on the lazy boy and says, where's my beer? And turns on football. Meanwhile, mom cleans the entire house in her beautiful dress, et cetera, et cetera. Dad, okay. That's a patriarchy. Matriarchy is when moms have the authority. Matriarchy. Okay. And I have little Sally here. Mommy, when I grow up, I want to help smash the white, racist, homophobic, patriarchal, stupid paradigm too, says Sally. We'll meet Sally every once in a while. Sally's a delightful little creature, but she's a monster. And then there's egalitarian, equal. If you had to label your family, which would it be? Does dad make the decisions? Does mom make the decisions? Is it truly equal? There is a 4th option, no one. That you live in a house of chaos. Go ahead.
I don't know, pretty.
What?
At different points in time.
I see. Sometimes dad, sometimes mom. I get it. Sometimes dad, sometimes mom. Is that right?
Well, no, originally my mom and my dad were together, and my dad was dominant, obviously.
Okay.
And then my mom remarried.
There you go. Okay, so obviously these things can get complicated, right? There are people in this room probably that live with dad sometimes and mom sometimes, right? Well, then you're in both, right? When you're living with dad, then dad makes the decisions. When you're with mom makes the decisions, right? So it's complicated. Go ahead.
Is there like a word for like your stepdad?
Well, again, that would be the patriarchy, right? It's the male making the decision. Right? There's nothing here that says biological dad makes the decision. It's just the male makes the decision. Okay. 1 slide left, and then we'll move on. And that's all that's on here. And so what I'm going to have you do is just take a minute, and I want you to write down the answer to this question. Why are there families? Why? What is the point? Go. Or just think of it. I'm not going to collect this. So if you just want to think of it, it's fine. I remember these. Oh, yeah, I can find these. When you've come up with 3, 4 reasons why families exist, and if you're stuck, by the way, let me sort of guide you a bit. Are there financial reasons why families exist? Are there cultural reasons why families exist? Language, art. Are there moral reasons why families exist? What services are provided in your family that you don't get from a gas station, a school, any other group you're part of? You get something out of your family that you don't get from the football team or the hockey team or whatever. What is that? What do you get out of a family that is unique, or as the French say, unique, to families that you don't get anywhere else? That's from me. When you're come up with 3 or 4, will you just turn around and share with a neighbor, see if you've come up with the same ideas, and then we'll share as a group. Or a group of 3 is fine.
Oh, God.
Hold on, Jake. Fair enough, but it's like,
Stop. What if some people accidentally have family? Or people accidentally have family?
Accidentally had family. You mean like one slip through the goalie, that sort of thing? Well, still, I mean, that's not a family. That's creation of a human. I'm talking about the nurturing of. Although you just identified one purpose of family is to perpetuate the species. Right? That's the model that we use. Very good. You want to share that? Okay. Ready? All right, I'm gonna just have us come up with arguments here, and then I'm gonna tell you the point of what we're looking at. Functionalist, what is that? He came up with an obvious one. Go. What's the point of a family?
To like populate.
Right? To perpetuate the species. The model that human beings have currently adopted for keeping this whole thing going is marriage, make a baby. Now, increasingly, that's less and less the case. Creating babies without getting married, but still, it's the model. I mean, it's entirely possible that in an alternate universe, what happens is they simply collect necessary ingredients from males and females and then put them in a petri dish, and then they're raised via factory. Kids are raised in a factory system. But the model that we've gone with so far is, no, the best way to raise kids is to have them in individual units called homes. And that's how we perpetuate the species. Very good.
Well, in the sense of like food, shelter, protection
Very good. The basic needs are provided. Yep.
to the child. until
Food,
it's
clothing, shelter. Right?
old enough to provide for themselves.
Very good. So your basic needs are met. Okay, again, it's entirely possible that in an alternate universe that those needs are met in a different way. That it doesn't have to be your mom and your dad providing these things, that they've reached a different conclusion. But
Originally, it wasn't that families were created, so that they did have children and that son or daughter could carry on the family.
very good. Something called heritage. It's a way of carrying on your legacy, right? I mean, I hate to break this to you, but we're all gonna die. Sorry. It's good. I know. Sorry. But you live on. You live on when you create that next generation and you carry on the name and your values and your religious beliefs, how you treat people, right? It's taught in the home. Very good.
you hear about this in like the old age movies, or I guess movies about the old age. They used to have marriages between like kingdoms or clans to like bridge the gap between wars.
My daughter will marry your son so that we can unify our respective fiefdoms. So to perpetuate the culture, the greater culture. Anyone else? What do you get from mom and dad? What do you get from mom and dad?
Food.
Yeah, we identified that, food, clothing, shelter. How many of you are planning on going to this thing called college? College is in your future? Or trade school or something? You gonna just get out the old mason jar in the back? That's all right. Right? For many of us, not all of us, but for many of us, mom and dad pitch in. They help. Mom and dad give you that 20 when you say like, hey, can I go to a movie? I'm talking about financial support. How many of you, and again, you don't need to raise your hand here, but just think about this. How many of you are interested in Democrat or Republican politics? You have an opinion about President Trump. Okay, great. Statistics show, by the way, that your view of certain things is word for word your parents' view. That when in this class later on, we are going to debate that stuff. Man, we're going to get into it. And it's fun. But when you're talking, what I might as well be doing is driving to your house and listening to your parents talk. Because you probably share your parents' views. There's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. It's just reality, right? So that's, again, another way of perpetuating the values. I mean, think about this. Are you aware that the United States fought this thing called the American Civil War? Did you know that? That's a thing in our past. Do you think that those people who were fighting to keep slavery alive went home after they lost and said, well, we were wrong. Now, kids, listen, black people are just as good as white people. And the kid said, oh, thanks, Dad. Are you nuts? They went home and said, where's my white cape? Son, here's how you put on this mask. And that perpetuated, right? Civil War is not over. The South will rise again. Okay. Anything else? Now, let me give you the point of what this is supposed to mean. A functionalist, so this is the note-taking part. A functionalist is a sociologist. By the way, if you wondered, what is sociology? I mean, how many of you signed up for this class thinking, I know exactly what sociology is? Me either. Sociology is when you sign up for science, you know what you're getting into, right? When you sign up for biology, you know basically what you're going to be studying. Math. Okay, in math, you're not going to learn how to spell words. You're going to do math. But what the crap is sociology? Exactly. Sociology is a study of why the world is the way it is. Why is the world the way it is? Why do we have families? Is our first unit of study. A functionalist is a specific type of sociologist. A functionalist says there's a good reason for fill in the blank. Here it's easy. There's a good reason for families. And you just answered those questions. Why do families exist? Food, clothing, shelter. How about the most important one? Love. The most important ingredient in the burgers SpongeBob makes. Remember, Mr. Krabs makes it, and SpongeBob says, but Mr. Krabs, you forgot the most important ingredient, love. And he makes it, and the customers love his burgers rather than Mr. Krabs. You know, the Krusty Krab was not a success overnight because it closes at 6. It's the best line from SpongeBob ever. It's the training video one. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, wait till we get to racism. Functionalists say there's a good reason for racism. Wait till we get to sexism, treating women differently. Functionalists would say there's a good reason to treat women differently. This one's easy. Food, clothing, shelter, love, money. There's a good reason for racism? There's a good reason why Jews were treated the way they were? Wait till we get to religion. Oh, man, I can't wait. I'm going to have popcorn over there. I'm going to put my seatbelt on, popcorn, and you guys are going to go to town. All right. So do understand what a functionalist is. A functionalist is a sociologist who argues why something exists. That there's a reason why racism exists. There's a reason why sexism exists. There's a reason why people out there hate Jews, hate blacks, hate fill in the blank. There's a reason. And these people try and figure out that reason. Okay, any questions so far? All right, take a mental break. This class will resume when the big hand is on the 1. So you've got 2 minutes to just sort of stand, do some jumping jacks, whatever. We will attack some of the documents that I handed out on the undergrad. That's what we're gonna do.
Slides are over for today.
Slides are over for today. Yes, sir.
What is the definition of
Functionalist is a sociologist who argues that there's a good reason for fill in the blank. How many of you have attacked the 2 Kias that are not being graded, but I want you to do them? Just make sure you do them by tomorrow, right? So that I can see where you're at. Have no fear, they're not graded. Just take a shot.
For the slideshow, it's just gonna open up, but,
Yeah. If you want a little note card, fine. But no, you don't need to write a paper. Title page, page 2 is a good quote you found. Page 3 is a good chart or some sort of visual you found. Page 4 is a bit of the article.
Do something like that. Or do you guys do Monday, right?
Yes. We'll start without you though. Okay, everyone have this, your 4 documents for the undergrad paper. You don't even have it. I have mine. Anybody else?
What's happening?
Is that it?
What is happening?
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, there. Anybody else? On a landscaped blank piece of paper, make this set of columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns. Document, speaker, credibility,
Can I do it on the back?
voice. You can, yep, you can do it right on the back of this if you want. That's totally fine. This is your piece of paper to use. Document, speaker, cred, voice, quote, reason, example. Don't worry about if the lines are straight or not. Here, by the way, there's one little trick. I'm sure you've learned this before. If you want to make 7 columns, you draw 6 lines. If you want to make 2 columns, you draw 1 line. If you want to make 4 columns, you draw 3 lines. Number of columns equals number of lines plus 1. It's a mathematical formula. C equals L plus 1. Columns equals lines plus 1. right? Let's see how many columns there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 equals, how many lines are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 plus 1. All right, quiz time. I want you to make 10 columns. How many lines do you make? 9. Very good. Pretty easy. That was nice. I asked you to read one of the documents. Just read it. See if you can kind of figure out what's going on. If you did, that's awesome. If you didn't, we'll live. Historical / hypothetical example is pretty small. Sorry.
Oh, yes or no?
This will make sense. Trust me. So don't worry about this because this wasn't one of your options. You were given documents 2, 5, 8, and 10. I could have given you what I used to do. At the end of every semester, what I do is I hand out a survey and I ask for ideas. And what I used to do is give students 16 of these documents, not 4, 16. And then I let students pick which documents they wanted to use in a paper that they wrote. And then a student last year suggested, why? Why go through 16 documents? It just seems like too much. Why not just pick the best 4 and just have the class attack those 4? And I sat there and I thought, good idea. Okay. If you, during this class, if you think, gee, I wish he did this instead, then at the end of the semester, tell me. I might just agree with you. Okay. Well, document 1 was from President Eisenhower, who said that, who argued that the answer should be no, that leave the words alone. They should remain. And he had a quote and he basically said, look, the pledge, those words are part of our heritage. We've always been a religious country. And so what's wrong with acknowledging that? It's just part of who we are. It's no different from In God We Trust on coins or Christmas setups on library property, right? No atheist is going to walk up to a Christmas scene and say, oh, and then lightning shall strike that person down. You're not forced to become a Christian because you walk by a manger scene. Same thing. Just because you stand up and say the pledge every day, you're not forced to become a Christian. They're just words. It's just part of our heritage. Okay. But anyway, that's not part of our document. I want us to look at document 2. And the answers are right there. But I'm not going to show them to you yet. Okay. Let's just see if we can kind of figure out and fill out what you can. So everyone, right now, I want you to take a shot. If you're wrong, big deal. Don't be afraid of being wrong. But look at document 2. Look at the little sentence before document 2, and then the document itself is inside the rectangle. What can you fill in? What can you, don't say it out loud, just do it on your own. Do it on your own. Yes.
Do you want us to fill out all of the documents?
No, just document 2.
Okay.
Just document 2. Everybody, let's just look at document 2. And what can you fill in? Have no fear of being wrong. So what? That's what learning's about, is falling off that horse and get back up. minimum, I would think that you should be able to figure out which document it is. Who's the speaker? What's the credibility of the speaker? Minimum, you should have those three. Bonus, can you figure out whether the person is arguing that the word should be left alone or removed? Can you figure that out? If they should be left alone, you put no right here. Yes means yes, remove them. And then bonus, if you can figure out what's the argument that's being made. Why should the words be left alone or removed? What's the argument being made? I'll give you another minute, and then I will take input. Who is this person? Like, for number one, Eisenhower. Well, who is he? Well, he's the president. Why should I listen to this person? Do you have a question? Oh. Okay, let's take a shot here. Which document is document 2? What did you write down there? Yes?
For the speaker.
No. Which document is document 2? 2. The number 2. Should be right here. Should say the number 2. All right. Who's our speaker? The speaker's name. Yes.
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. His name should be right here. Who dat? Good.
For credibility.
Huh?
Well, president.
President. Right? He's president. So let's just spend a second here and think about that. What if I told you that Gene Corbett, yep, Gene Corbett, said the words should be removed? Any questions?
Who's Gene Corbett?
Corbett,
Who's that?
my neighbor.
I agree with it.
Any questions? Or any thoughts?
Who is she?
Does being my neighbor, she's an American, and you have First Amendment rights and all that, but does being my neighbor qualify you to have an opinion that others should look at as gravitas? That it should be seen as, whoa, that person said it? She's my neighbor.
Kind of just like
She also is frequently visited by the police because she sells drugs. That is true. This is the person who, one day, a couple summers ago, I was mowing my lawn. And as I'm mowing my lawn, they're enjoying a campfire, the whole family. They're delightful people, delightful people. I take another round on my lawnmower and notice that they're now all inside, but the fire's still raging. Do a few more rounds on my yard, and then I look and I notice that about 1/3 of their yard is now on fire because it was really dry. And I thought, I'm sure they'll notice. They'll put the fire out soon. A few more rounds on my lawnmower, and I look back and nope, fires are raging. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to avoid these people, but I'm afraid the fire will spread. So I turned my lawnmower off, went to their front door, rang the doorbell, and it goes by. The dad opens it up and here, classic questions. Was he wearing a shirt?
No.
Underwear?
Yeah.
And he opens the door and says, yeah, I said, your yard's on fire. And I turned around and walked away. And they got it eventually. Anyway, that's the kind of people I'm dealing with. And they think the word should be removed. Do they have credibility?
No.
Nope. They burn their yard.
They sell drugs.
They do, right? This is the answer to the question, why should we listen to this person? Who's the president? Former president, right? He has cred, okay? You don't go to a librarian and say, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl? That person might have a perfectly legitimate opinion, but is lacking credibility. Cred is Why is this person's opinion sort of weighed more heavily than others? Okay. So we now know that. Now, answer to the question, yes or no. Let me read in my best Barack Obama impersonation.
Oh,
Sense of proportion should also guide those who police the boundaries between church and state. Not every mention of God in public is a breach of the law, separation, contact matters. It is doubtful that children reciting the Pledge of Allegiance feel oppressed or brainwashed as a consequence of muttering the phrase under God. I didn't. Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Yeah, thanks. What? What? How many of you can tell? Does he think the word should be removed or not? You can tell. What did you say?
I said he wants to keep the word.
Keep the words. How many of you agree with him? Yeah, that's right. You're right. Yeah, leave him alone. Why? Why? Go ahead.
Because he states that it's doubtful that children reciting the pledge will lead to oppress or brainwash as a consequence of just like saying the word one time in the pledge.
Very good. So you've given the quote, the part that we'll actually use from the quote. Can you interpret his quote though? What's he saying?
He's saying, yeah, saying the Pledge of Allegiance and hearing the word God one time is gonna make them feel like they have to be forced to be a Christian or
Very good job. Excellent job. Okay, so let's just reveal. So it's document 2, Obama, he's the president, leave him alone. And then I just put the whole thing from the word A to the word didn't. Do not waste time writing every single word of this quote. What a colossal waste of time. Just put the first word, ... last word. That's what I did. And the reason, what's he saying here? It's not forcing religion. Right? The First Amendment says freedom of religion. And you stand and you say the words under God during the pledge. But after you say the pledge, we'll go with pledge. After you say the pledge, a Catholic priest does not enter the room and say, all right, who's just converted? Any converts here? And you're like, I said the words under God. All right. And then he sprinkles you with water. Welcome to the Catholic Church. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. You people who do not believe in God, nobody's forcing you to believe in God. You're saying 2 words. Yes. No, we're not debating this.
no.
What?
I said for the quote, you could have also done context matters.
That's it? The word context matters? No. That is an insufficient quote. Okay? You make sure your quote has enough so that you can work with it. I would say make that part of it. Okay? Any questions here? That's enough for now. I'm going to show you something else here so you can take break number 2. I just need to show you something. Okay? So take a mental break here. Yeah. I have to find it.
You know what? I'm gonna find the copy.
Okay. This is the last thing we're doing, and then I shouldn't take more than a minute or 2, and then you can have the last 5 minutes to kind of relax here. So I am now showing you something that we are going to revisit from time to time, and that is the actual Supreme Court case on the words under God. So in Elk Grove, California, a family, an atheist family, a daughter went to school that day at high school, came home, and said they made us say the Pledge of Allegiance. And the dad said, did they make you say the words under God? Yeah, they did. He sued the school district. The family sued the school district, Elk Grove, California. And it made it all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, look, in order to rule on this case, we have 3 questions. We have 3 tests. One's called the Lemon Test. One's called the Endorsement Test. And one's called the Coercion Test. If the Pledge of Allegiance fails any of these 3 tests, we will remove the words under God from the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to number you 1 or 2 or 3. And for now, all I want you to do is just read over what the test is measuring. If you're a 1, you have the Lemon Test. If you're a 2, you have the Endorsement Test. If you're a 3, you have the Coercion Test. Okay? So here we go. You're a 1, you're a 2, you're a 3. You're a 1, you're a 2, you're a 3. You're a 1, you're a 2, you're a 3. You're a 1, you're a 2, you're a 3. Okay? The word secular means non-religious. It isn't secular is another way of saying it is too religious. So just read over your column, please, and be ready to, you're a 1. You're a 1. Just read this, okay? And this will be available on the website, I promise. Just read it, and we'll revisit it in the future. Okay? You'll actually get to argue this before a jury that is not in here. Another group will come in, and half of you will say, here's why the word should be removed. It fails the Lemon Test. Here's why. And then another group will say, no, it doesn't fail the Lemon Test. And here's why. And then the jury will render a decision. The jury's not in here right now. It's really fun.
What is this?
What's up?